everybody, we are back. Welcome to another episode of More Than the Title. I'm your host as usual, Jarrett Thomas, Chief Revenue Officer at Outside the Box Digital. And you know I got my brother, my brethren, your favorite CEO's favorite CEO, Chadeo. What's good, baby? And I got it right.
You got it right.
I got it right. I'd be like,
he's over there. He's over there. Happy to be here. You know I'm hoodied up. Listen, I'm sick. I'm hoodied up today, man. It's hoodie season, man. I got to dress for the weather. It's hoodie season. I'm hoodied up today.
That's it, baby. That's it. You know, we're going to rock before we, we always got an awesome episode planned for y'all guys. And before we introduce this amazing guest, quick house cleaning items. First, shout out to y'all, the listeners, the subscribers, the followers. We're growing and glowing across every single platform because y'all love and y'all support the positive comments, the feedback. Yeah, we appreciate y'all and really appreciate that from the bottom of our heart. So thank you to y'all.
Yeah. The support has been real, Jarrett, man. We can't thank y'all enough, man. Just to give y'all some insight on the kind of support that you guys have given us. We're at like 110,000 views on YouTube in under 4 months. That's just amazing.
Hold on, let's get a little. Come on, man.
Run it! Yeah, man. 110,000 plus views on YouTube in under 4 months, and it couldn't have been done without the viewers. So once again, we sincerely thank you guys for all the support, the likes, the comments, whether good or bad, we don't care. If you're taking time to look at our stuff, to comment on it, we appreciate you anyway. You understand what I'm saying? So we're not going to only stand and be like, we only like the positive shit. We'll take the negative shit too, because we like to comment back, and let's have a discussion.
You ain't popping if you ain't got haters. So clearly we popping, y'all.
You got haters, so.
We on it, y'all. So you already know. And also shout out to our distribution partners, the Live Podcast Network, the first woman-owned, black-owned podcast network. So if you want more content from black creators like More Than the Title, make sure you download the app. Make sure you support the team. And also shout out to our executive producers, Real Block Films. Make sure y'all go to YouTube. Make sure y'all see the Love Film. It's on American new app, which is Dame Dash app. They're doing a lot of big things, and they rocking with, More Than the Title, baby. Shout out to my guys.
I think within the first couple of days or something like that, I think they're over like 20,000 views in the first couple of days. So shout out to Real Block, man. Dave and you guys, man. You guys are doing your thing. The movie is amazing, man. Congratulations to our partners, man. Y'all doing that thing, man. We out here working. That's what that means, man. We out here working.
That's it, man. With that being said, let's start the show. Get it rocking, man. So this brother right here, man, this is an amazing brother, man. We actually had one of our guests hit us up and say, yo, shout out to my brother Haji. He said, man, you got to have this brother on. I worked with him, man. He's solid. And once reading his story, I'm like, oh, no, man, we have to, man. So this is for the culture right here. This brother was born in the English village of Bristol to parents hailing from Barbados and the sunny Caribbean. He landed his first advertising job at Ogilvy and Mather, where he worked on Merrick, Kraft, Post, Singram's, Hardee's, and American Express businesses. After frustration with the lack of diversity in the general market, he migrated to Multicultural Marketing and Uniworld Group. In his tenure with them, he worked on efforts for Bank of America, Pepsi, AT&T, AstraZeneca, Motorola, you name them, and also was the group creative director of their Colgate Palmolive and 4 businesses. After becoming the CCO at Footsteps, he continued to work in the multicultural arena and worked on brand tone and voice for Lowe's, Gillette, Diageo, Infinity, Visa, PNC Bank, also other brands like Spectrum, Clorox, Nike, Hallmark, Mahogany.
Get it.
We can keep going.
Get him.
And the list goes on.
Get him. The organ come on when you start preaching, man.
He recently accepted the title of GCD at VaynerMedia NYC office on the American Eagle and Express Brands account, deepening robust customer relationships in social. Let's introduce this amazing brother, Mr. David Pilgrim, man. Let's go, baby.
Respect, Joe.
That's it, man. It's a pleasure, man. Welcome to the show, brother.
Welcome to the show, Dave.
My pleasure, man. My pleasure.
I want to say something. Dave has one of the most amazing complexions, but he has that like perfect suntan complexion. When he said you were Caribbean, I just looked at you like, you got that perfect fucking sun. You know what I mean?
What can I say, man? The gene pool is strong.
Welcome to the show, brother.
Man, it's great to be here, man. And shout out to Haji as well. Yeah. Haji is a supremely talented brother, man, and who we worked together. I think I met him at Uniworld. This is nearly 20 years ago, probably around that time. And he has always been a person who has crusaded quietly for the business and for people of color in the business, and sometimes at great risk to himself. He published a book years ago that was a tell-all about being black in the business. This would have been again in the early 2000s, and he got a lot of flack for that book. But he was critical. He was critical as much of the world around multicultural agencies as the agencies themselves. So he was an equal opportunity look at the agents at the industry, and and he continues to do that work to this day. If you follow him on LinkedIn, you're getting the science on how it feels to be a black creative in this business at this moment.
Absolutely, he's fighting a good fight, man.
I love Haji, man. I love Haji, man. He is definitely one of our warriors.
100%.
Definitely a warrior for the culture, man. Salute to Haji. And let me tell you something, Dave. And we've all experienced this, so I know you're gonna appreciate this, right? You can always be at a job where a motherfucker got a lot of shit to say about you in a negative space, but it is very refreshing when you have a colleague that, like you said, that you worked with Haji 2 decades ago.
Yeah.
2 decades ago, and this man still speaks and holds you at this type of high regard. It showed you the type of impact that you had on him, and it showed you the caliber of person that he is, that he didn't even forget that, and still to this day he sings your praises. So
it's crazy, man. I mean the thing is, the way the business goes, and I think that's pertinent to our discussion, is that there are not a lot of black folks in the business, right? Absolutely. So when you meet them, you meet in fellow unicorns, and you tend to lock in and get relationships early on. And he and I have worked together about 2 or 3 times since that at different agencies. So even though the tenure of how long I've known him is long, the fact that you would bounce up the person again is a regular occurrence, because if you want to talk to black people, they're only I would dare say that we constitute probably less than 5% of the industry, right? 5%.
Yeah.
So you're gonna see the same people over and over, you know. Yeah. So that's how it goes.
So, but I think that's a perfect segue, brother, because obviously you come from the Caribbean, you moved to the U.S., right? Or were you born in the Caribbean?
I was born in England. I was born in Bristol, England. My mother was studying there at the time, because at the time, Barbados had just finished being a colony. We just became independent from Britain, right? Okay. And a lot of people from the Caribbean were going to Britain to further their education if they could make it. And my mother was a French teacher. She was there studying, and she had me there. And then I went back to Barbados before I was a year old. So I rep Barbados really as the place where I come from.
Okay.
But I was technically born in England. So I've never lived in England for any length of time. I've been there on vacation and been back a few times to work. But I rep Barbados really. So
you identify as a Bajan?
Hell yes. Bajan to the bone. Bajan to the bone.
Okay, look. So, for a non guy from the Caribbean, this is a big debate. Is it Caribbean or is it the Caribbean? How do we pronounce it?
The pronunciation Caribbean is an American construct. Everybody else in the world says Caribbean. Right?
Okay, so are both correct?
Both are technically correct.
Okay,
but Caribbean is an American construct. I'll tell you what, gotcha. The word Caribbean, right, is based on the Caribs, who were the people who were there before colonization. Right? Okay. So because the Caribs were there, it's Caribbean.
Gotcha.
Just sense. Like typical American shit. We take some shit that's wrong and make it right.
Yeah, exactly. We reshape it in our image.
You hear things so much that you adopt. You learn as you hear.
Yeah.
And I've always wondered that, because I know, like in America, everybody like the Caribbean. Then when I went to Barbados, they say, the Caribbean. So I'm like, Caribbean. Well, which one is it? You know what I mean? But obviously your story makes absolute sense. So shout out to America, like Jarrett said, for just taking some shit and
being bullied. Yeah, motherfucker.
What the fuck you want it to be?
Yeah, it works. It's good. It's cool when they do it. It's a problem when I do it. That should be our theme song for the country.
Okay, so you grew up so you were born in England. But
grew up in the Caribbean.
Grew up in the Caribbean. So let me start off by saying this: of what we know of most Caribbean culture, the man is raised to be the provider, right? Yeah. Were you raised in, so because in American culture it's a little different. I know in more Caribbean cultures, the man is raised to be the provider, and it's kind of instilled in you that this is the path you should take. And whatever, how you say, like whatever job you're seeking out, you should, you know, find a job that you can just like be the provider and take care of your family? Were you raised in that kind of like economic?
I was well. I would say that in certain ways, my family was typical. In certain ways, atypical.
Okay.
It was typical in the sense that like my grandfather was an agriculturalist, right? So he worked on a plantation. He literally ran a plantation for the government. Because by that time, of course, you know, the government had kind of taken over. Again, like I said, Barbados had just become independent, right? Not too long before I was born. And so basically what happened, Black people had taken over now from the colonial rulers, and we started a new chapter, right? My parents were both teachers. So because of that, my father taught history, my mother taught French. Even though it was a traditional Caribbean household, them being teachers, they understood children, and they also were in a position to kind of show you different options, right? Okay. And because they were teachers, like when we sat down at the dinner table, we would talk about what it was like to be at school. They were a lot more connected and closer to us emotionally than most Caribbean parents, I would venture, right? Because quite often, to your point, like, you know, the daddy is the daddy, and he brings only bacon, does his thing. He don't really hug the boys too much. He was two boys. Yeah. Don't really hug the boy. You don't get him a punch. You know, get him. You know,
he come home, he tired.
Yeah, get through. Yeah. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, let me eat my food and go to bed.
That's it. Although the truth is, my dad would come home and the first thing he did was to go to bed and take a nap.
Yeah,
so it's typical in that sense.
Yeah.
But my mother in particular realized that I was a kid who drew from day one, right?
Okay.
So they gave me, like, people would bring me gifts and I would play with the paper. So basically by the time I was about 12, I had a marker collection that was as tall as the bookshelf behind me here, right? Like I just hung on to all those. I painted, I drew incessantly. And I was like a kind of a nerdy kid who kind of took care of all that. I mean, I still my brother played basketball and played basketball, soccer, those kinds of things. But I was the kid who always drew, and like, you know, drew pictures for brothers at school. Like anytime anybody wanted anything drawn, posters made, blah, blah, blah. I was the kid who they came to.
Right.
To segue it then into how I ended up in the States, right? My mother again said, listen, the kid has only ever drawn since day one. What can we do to keep him on that path?
Okay.
Because I was okay at math and okay at, because normally what would happen, right, is your parents would want you to be just like here, like lawyer, doctor, that kind of thing, right? Those very kind of traditional and very kind of conservative pathways. But my mother in particular, because she realized that I had the talent, said, okay, good. We're going to do whatever we can to keep him on this path. And they mortgaged the house, basically, to send me to Pratt Institute here in Brooklyn.
Okay. Right. Yeah, Pratt is a big art institute.
Yeah, Pratt is a big art
institute.
There are probably about 3 or 4 of them in the New York area. Yeah. It's one of the top 4.
Yeah, it's expensive too. It's not a
very expensive. And that's why I say they mortgaged the house and basically paid for me to go for the first year. But thank God, when I landed and had my first few classes, when I had my first midterms, I was in the top 5%, right? So luckily my skill was at that level, right? Well, not luckily, because I had put in the 10,000 hours before.
You've been drawing since you was a kid.
Drawing all day one. So then I was in the top few, and I made sure I won a scholarship. Then I applied for a couple of scholarships and won one. Nice. That paid for my second year. Then I applied for the RA position, the resident assistant at the dorms. So then my accommodation was free. Nice. So the accommodation free, first and second year paid, and then proceeded to keep the GPA high up so I could maintain the grades and keep the scholarship. So busted my ass basically to make sure I got through the 4-year thing. But that's the immigrant complex. You're not going home in shame. You ain't come all this fucking way to the fucking States to do your thing. You're not going. You know what I'm saying? You're not going back. You come in and you're gonna try and fucking succeed while you're here. That's the mission. Right?
That's real. And even the pressure, like you said, your parents mortgaged the house.
Yep.
You could have easily went out there bullshit. You could have seen another little shorty or something. You could have skipped a few classes, man. But you stayed through. You persevered through it. You
had to do it.
Laser focused.
Actually, one of my last
expensive, but the fucking supplies, their art supplies.
That's what I'm saying.
They go to a store called Blick.
Yes.
Which is one of the biggest art supply stores for schools like that. Yo, them fucking markers, bro.
Markers,
one marker
pens,
like $20. There's certain graphite pens and weighted. Holy shit. Yo, they're fucking. You think books are expensive? They would have to buy books and these art supplies, easels and fucking holders. Oh my God.
All of it. all of it. So you had to be on top of it, and had to manage your money tight.
Absolutely.
And then, like I remember my last week in Barbados. What happens is that when you're sending your child away, right?
Yeah.
The central bank has to cut a check for that first check that goes to the college, because any big money leaving the island, the central bank needs to know. So he had to go to the central bank and get permission to send this money off. And the guy who was dealing with my case at the bank told my father, so what you're sending your child away, what are you sending him to go and do? And my father said, you're going to art school. And the man was like, you're gonna waste your money sending the child to art school. You should send him to medical school. Don't send him to be a lawyer.
Wow.
So like the whole prevalent thing, it's a very small society. Like, it gets a lot of play now because Rihanna is big, but Barbados is 166 square miles. It's smaller than Brooklyn. Everybody knows your name. If I go to Barbados and say my last name is Pilgrim, they know who my brother is. They know who my mother is. They know who my father is, right? So people, if there's a philosophy that has taken root that's conservative, everybody adopts it, right? It's a very small society. So I'm not mad at them for thinking that, but that's the environment in which you're coming. So that if you make again, that's the pressure. When you land here as an immigrant, then I'm not letting that motherfucker in the bank know. He will never see me fall. He must never see me fall.
Right.
Because I'm not having anybody talk about me like that before I leave and then get the pleasure of saying, well, my father wasted his money. So you get here and you dig in. And New York was, and the other thing too, man, like New York, I landed here in 80, I can date myself with this, but I landed here in 85, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like hip hop is popping off, like popping the fuck off. And the whole culture is beginning, like black people are surging into the whole hip hop space.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just such an exciting time to be here. So on one hand, you're learning the stuff at Pratt that is the straightforward kind of graphic design stuff that you're hearing about. Meanwhile, the fucking trains are covered in graffiti.
Yeah.
And the music is booming from the systems at the same time. I mean, I remember hearing like Eric B. and Rakim dropped the year I landed. And I had never heard shit like that. I come in from reggae and soca.
You heard that?
Hearing
what the fuck?
It was crazy. And all of that stuff then impacted the work you did.
Yeah.
And you kind of learning the fundamentals. But at the same time, as an artist, you're trying to remain as open as possible as the culture in a visceral way. It's literally hitting you from all sides. And you just have to synthesize all of that and keep it moving forward.
Yeah, that's
real,
dope,
man. Yeah,
that's super dope.
What parish are you from?
I'm from St. Michael, which is near Bridgetown.
I know,
the capital.
Yep, I know it's that. Yep.
Yeah.
We I went to Barbados, I think 2 or 3 years ago for my birthday. First time there. I booked the trip like 3 days before my birthday, just on some like I needed somewhere to go because normally I go out the country. And I'm telling you right now, and I'm not being funny, it was one of the best trips I've ever taken. Like I love Barbados. I'm glad. But the people are so fucking friendly. The food is absolutely fucking amazing. I forget what parish has that stage that they do the concerts every Friday.
Oystins is Christchurch. It's Christchurch.
Yeah, there it is.
Right away. The place is that small. The place is that small. If you say the stage, okay, it gotta be Oystins. There's only two.
you know that
one is Oystins.
No, Jarrett,
so that's where you are.
It's like a fucking 42nd Street, nothing but seafood restaurants.
That's right,
stuff, man. And like I said, the people are just so friendly out there, man. Such a beautiful island. And
top-rated beaches, man. Like I grew up and took the shit for granted.
Yeah.
And then when I came to New York and saw what beaches were, I was like, what?
You came to Orchard? Wait, which beach you went to? You went to Orchard Beach?
No, I went to Reese Beach. That was the one I went to. I was like, what?
Don't go to Orchard.
Don't go to Orchard.
You'll never go to a beach again in your life.
It ain't gonna be a condom. It'd be
needles.
I'm still fucking traumatized.
Orchard Beach looks like those underground, the underground caves and the caves that they take you through for the excursions in Barbados.
Yeah.
The train goes through with the water. That's what Orchard Beach looks like.
Oh my God.
Like a Katrina water, no hurricane. It's ridiculous shit. I hate it.
Get your streptococcus.
Yeah. You be scared to put your fucking foot in the water. That water green. I'm saying right now. Barbados water, clear as blue. Caribbean water, blue, clear. 100%. You can damn near see through it. Fucking Orchard Beach water is seaweed green. I'm telling you right now.
See anything.
We've never seen blue water in Orchard
I've
Beach.
never seen my toes in that water. Never in my life. 35.
Now you want to see a dead body?
You never know.
It's crazy out there, bro.
Yeah,
but so after graduating, bro. So tell us, man, give us a little insight into how you got into the industry, man, and how you got that first opportunity.
So here it is now, right?
Yeah.
So 4 years, and Pratt had a placement program. So at the end of it, you would kind of go to the placement program and tell them what your major was. And I majored in graphic design. Okay. Even like I kind of came there as a fine arts, major, but then over time, and plus again, this is the practical part of my parents and being from Barbados. My mother said, well, you gotta have a trade where you can make some money.
Yeah.
We sending you to go and do the art, but do something where you got a trade where you're gonna make some money and take care of yourself, right?
Yeah.
So I go and hit the placement office, and this is not bragging again. Like I say, I had to maintain the scholarship, so I was near the top of my class in terms of the GPA thing. So I wasn't worrying about that. But I went through the summer after my graduation. No one was biting at all, and then I got a placement call. I got a call for an interview from Ogilvy and Mather here in New York. For those who don't know, O&M is one of the largest firms in advertising. It's a worldwide agency, but more than that, its founder, David Ogilvy, was one of the founders of the business. He was a salesperson who kind of conceived what modern advertising was. Yeah. And he wrote a book called Ogilvy on Advertising, which basically describes what advertising was and how, I mean, it's a very dated book if you read it now, but at the time when he wrote it, it was pretty much the Bible on how advertising could work, right? So he founded that agency, I believe, sometime in that's probably the 40s or the 50s. I can't remember. Mm-hmm. But they called me for an interview. I went in, and I don't want to make it into a racial thing per se, but there were racial dynamics partially at work. My book was enough to get me through the door, 100%. But the creative director who was hiring me was a white South African who was a really, really, really nice guy, but who had realized that Ogilvy in New York at the time was not diverse at all, right? Yeah. And just to me, out of he had a kind of a impish nature, and he was like, you know what, let's get some brown people up in here and shake this place up. Didn't do it because I know that there were a couple of other people in my class who were up for that same job, but I got it. I feel that because I was brown, I got the job, right? But again, qualifications, I met the qualifications, but I think that he purposely wanted to kind of stir the waters up there because he knew how homogeneous it was. At the time when I got there, really and truly, it was like working. It was as if James Bond. It was a mixture of James Bond and an advertising agency, meaning that a lot of the guys who were art directors came to work dressed in either suits with loafers, and they wore ties. And these are the creative dudes, right? Yeah. Hats. And all the women were dressed in all black, like that New York style, that kind of thing. But there were no black people there at all. I was the only one, and I was extremely junior. And so that was a fairly big shift, right? To come from Barbados and to be jumping into this, but it's one of the top agencies in the world. So, I sucked up the experience. And the first year, this is the late 80s, early 90s. We're not digital yet. I had to learn all the craft of stuff by hand. I had to learn, I knew it partially from college, but the whole typography thing. Yeah. Photography, you had to work with photographers. I would assist my creative director and go on shoots with him, watch how the shoots were done, talk to the lab about how the photos were supposed to be processed. Yeah. Build, in those days, to do presentations, you had to build the presentations by hand. So I get images by hand, cut those up, get the copy, cut it up, assemble it, show it. You learn of how ads and communication are built in a really granular way, in a way that we don't know, because the computer takes care of a lot of that. But I learned traditional, what is now called traditional, in that way. And then later on, when it came for TV stuff, I would go to the shoots and shoot with people. And so one of my first spots that I did, I posted on LinkedIn about it recently. It was a spot for Hershey's chocolate that featured the director who did CNC Music Factory Land. Things that make you go home. You know that song. Yeah. He was the first director I ever worked with. A guy called Marcus. It's Marcus Nispel was his name. He's a German guy. And but basically the whole point was that young kids in a chocolate factory, But this is 1989, and I told the client that like the only way to have it resonate is you're gonna have to lean into hip hop. Now think about it, right? Like Eric B and Rakim only came out like 2 or 3 years before, 3-4 years before, and these guys in Connecticut, in Hershey, in Hershey, Pennsylvania, have never even heard of hip hop. Their kids are not listening to it yet.
Yeah.
So I had to go in and sell hip hop to these people, and so I basically I cut my own reel together from Video Music Box. The Rap McDaniels, right? Rap McDaniels had to put like, because at that time, remember, hip hop is not mainstream yet. So I had to find, like, I had to go and find the little off-brand cable shows that were showing hip hop and get a real cut off of this. I had to get the closest thing in that they could understand was Janet Jackson's Rhythm Nation, right? Because it had the choreography of what the kids could look like dancing and stuff like that. And then, you had to bring in one or two kind of sellout, kind of semi hip hop thing. Not sellout, but like you would bring in like things that it was some of the things that made you go home by Young MC, because that sounded a little more palatable to them. They may have heard it. Yeah. But basically had to spend the whole time selling what hip hop was and selling to them that hip hop was not a fad. Because at the time, the perception was that hip hop was going to be a fad and was going to die out within the next 5 years. Right? So did that. They bought it. Then I got I had a friend, Salam Remy, who did all of Nas's hits, right? Producer for Nas, a couple other people, Amy Winehouse, various people. Yeah. And I went to him and he did the track, right?
Salam's been around a long time.
A long time,
bro.
His dad was a producer before him. And in fact, his dad did Orange Juice Jones. Singing in the rain. So he's two generations deep in terms of the whole production end. But got him to do the actual track. And so, like, if you look at the commercial now, so we got the director who was doing probably the hottest kind of pop hip hop video at the time, and then we got Salam to do the track. And between the two things, it still feels bona fide. Like it didn't feel like we were faking it for Hershey, right? Which I thought was really important, and which to me was a testament to the fact that I was in the room, because I knew Ogilvy at the time could not do work that felt like that.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was the first. That was within my first year or two of working in the industry. It took me a while. You had to do a year of apprenticeship at Ogilvy before you even got to make anything yourself. They wouldn't let you have your own shoot. But once you did, they would throw the whole might of the production company that they had internally behind it. They had lots of pull. They could pay and get anybody you wanted to edit, whatever. Everything was done bona fide. So that was a great experience.
Shout out to you, man. First of all, for pitching hip hop and stepping outside the box, man. That's the name of our company, Outside the Box. So you went into Hershey and said, "Yo, hip hop is going to be a thing." They bought it, right? Because you pitched it, you sold them on it. What was the results of that campaign? And what happened afterward as a result of your career?
Well, at the time, you have to remember, this is pre-digital, right?
Yeah.
So the notion of metrics is not enforced. There were no metrics. It was that either it did well or it didn't. So what they used to watch was how the commercial performed in terms of wear out. So what that means is this: like, so on Saturday, at that time, Saturday morning cartoons, for example, were really big, right? Yeah. So you would put your commercials in that, and you would run the commercial and run it and run it and run it and run it. And if it wore out, that meant that people would request it, kind of, or say that they liked it, but like, it was like people writing letters. It was just a kind of a guesswork thing, a lot of it, right? Yeah. And actually, we got some negative letters. We got some negative letters from some people who said, "You can't believe that there are Black people in the ads for Hershey. It needs to stop." But to Hershey's credit, they dug in and said, no, we think this is right. We're gonna go with it. But honestly, it was kind of crazy for a minute. But to answer your question directly, it ran for a couple months and then it wore out, which told us that it was actually doing well. Because if they want to run it a lot, that means people like it.
Yeah, exactly. And for those listening, like the amount of investment that you put in, you might put in 500, $1 million to the ad, right? You only have a week or two of shelf life on the distribution in terms of the network cable. You know what I mean? That's a loss of ROI. But if it continues to play, just like content, me and Chad invest $1 million a piece of content. If it goes in for 2 years, that's a good damn investment, right? Because it keeps on living.
Exactly. And if you're noticing a lift in the stores, because what it was, I should mention this, it was the pure Hershey bar, right, with nothing in it, no nuts, and they were going up against Snickers and other bars that had things to eat within the chocolate bar itself, and it had been popular at one stage and had fallen off. So what they would also notice that if there was a lift in terms of demand for the bar itself, that told you that the commercial was working.
Yeah.
But it was kind of more like guesswork and more just a good feeling.
Shit, how the hell did we make money back then? Stone Age work. That shit sound crazy, bro, compared to today.
I don't want to get too far past this because you said something and me and Jarrett make a point. Before we get too far past this, I gotta backtrack. David, please, never again apologize for busting your ass to fucking make your family proud. Please, brother, if you could ever do one thing, I'm asking you. Pratt is not a fucking school. Any school that you go to, grades are not giving out for free. I don't give a fuck if you go to a CUNY, a SUNY State Institute, a City Institute. You get the grade that you earn. So if you come and you know you came from an island and you're an immigrant to another country and you're there busting your fucking ass and you end up being at the top of your class, you don't fucking apologize for that.
You're right. You're right about that.
This is the mentality that they want us to develop, that our hard work should not be celebrated. Fuck that. You bust your ass, you did what you had to do, and you made your family proud to be able to say, yo, we are happy that we made that sacrifice to send our child, because it was a risk, it was a gamble. They didn't know if this shit would work. They're spending their money because Caribbean money is not equivalent a lot of times to American.
That's right. They would pay double. They would pay what in their currency is double.
You know what I mean? So, you know, for them to take that risk and for you to show them that you accepted the challenge and you mastered it, please never apologize for that again.
Absolutely.
You wear that as a badge of honor. Say, I went to Pratt and I fucking did that and I was the top of my class and this is what the fuck I accomplished, because we need to celebrate our small. That's a small accomplishment, but it's also a big accomplishment at the same time. So
yes, you're 100% right. I mean, like, you know what? Because you're right. We do have to model it. And I think, but I'll tell you the second piece about why I would even have taken that approach.
Yeah.
Barbados was a British colony, right?
Right.
And Britain's got this thing called the Brits have this thing, the stiff upper lip, which is like when you accomplish something, you don't boast about it. You don't want to seem boastful. You don't want to seem, and it doesn't make any sense. It's just this kind of thing that, again, I probably inherited from my post-colonial upbringing. Yeah, where like, and even in my career, sometimes they've been, and I think it's part of our discussion, which is that when you are the only Black person in an organization, how do you speak up about yourself and for yourself? How do you advocate for yourself? And if you enter the room, to your point about speaking humbly about what you do, as opposed to saying, well, I am at this level and I'm worthy of this. Yeah. How are you perceived? So you're 100% right. It's one of those things where, I mean, no matter where you are in your career, you have to work on these things.
Yeah. The only thing, and Jarrett has been there. I'm telling you, Jarrett's been there. I've been there, you've been there, so we can be a triangle on this thing, right? Fuck perception. Let's keep it 100, Dave. You could walk in there with a suit and tie. You could walk in there with a fucking cowboy hat on and some boot. It doesn't matter. You walk in Black, they're going to perceive you how they want to perceive you. It doesn't matter how you're fucking dressed. They're going to perceive you how they want to perceive you before you even open your mouth, before they understand you're qualified, because that is what they do.
Absolutely.
We need to stop giving a fuck about what their perception is. I'm here to do a job. When I walk into these rooms, I'm telling you right now, it's not being boastful. I walk into these rooms. What do you need done? I don't pretend to be your friend. I'm not your friend. I'm not. We got to stop trying to play fucking friends. We're not friends. I'm here to do a job. What do you need me to do? Okay, this is what I can do. This is how I need to do it. Let's get it done together. You understand? But we have to stop worrying about how they perceive us, because we're going to waste so much energy. Like Jarrett used to say, yo, I used to have on a suit. I cut my fucking hair. You know what he's doing? He's worrying about the perception of what he looks like versus what the fuck he's accomplishing. What he looks like doesn't matter, because he's making all these sales based on his talent, not based off of what he fucking wears.
Yeah. But hear this though, to me, the thing, and the thing is, I take your point. 100% agree with you. Like, I think especially as you go higher up the ladder, and you are the only one. Yeah, because I think the other thing I think that's really important to give context to what you're saying is, if you are the only one, right, who bolsters you? Like you can come in, we can come in with our chest out 300 days of the year, but they got 65 more days. Yeah. And they got 30 days. You wake up and you're not feeling good that day. You're feeling shitty. Yeah. You don't feel like you got the urge to push.
Yeah.
And to me, like that's the kind of cross current that you have to navigate, which is that.
Yeah, he going on. He going on.
Because the answer to that is your people, Dave.
Yeah,
but we're gonna boast of you. We're gonna boast of you. We're gonna boast of you.
But think about this. But think about this, though, Chad. I'm coming from a time when I was the only one in a creative department of 200.
Understand.
Of 200. It's 200 other motherfuckers in the place, right?
Understand.
And and you're dealing like unconscious microaggression at a time when we didn't have the word microaggression,
right,
to even address it. And so you think that you are fucked up because things are going on around you, and you're like, did I perceive that?
Yeah.
Or is it, to your point, perception? Like, did I perceive that? Did that really fucking happen?
Yeah.
Or am I crazy? Like, and so like I think that the context, I fully agree with you, but I think the context of time, given when I started in the industry, they were, believe me, we talk about blacks are still unicorns in the business.
Absolutely.
But at the time when I started, you better believe it was even more so. And I happen to be a man. Yeah. Believe me, if there were women, black creatives, and there were one or two I knew, they were even more of unicorns. Like a couple of my bosses have been some of the first women. I worked for two women who I mentioned now, Valerie Graves, who wrote a book about this. I can't remember the name of her book, but she wrote a book about being the black unicorn in the business. Right. Mm-hmm. And then I worked for another creative director called Diane Campbell, who was the only black creative in another part of the business for, again, this is for years. They were the only ones. So I agree with you in terms of coming into the room and stating clearly what you do. But I do think you need to feel like you are part, the organization you are in needs to back you 100%. Mm-hmm. And I think if your track record of success is stellar, you can come in the room and say what the hell you like. But if they don't know you, right, I think you do have to be aware of perception. I don't think it should rule what you do or say, right, but you should be aware of how they are probably looking at you. And to me, what you do is you destroy that. So like, for example, case in point, you hear me talking now, like I make a decision. Mm-hmm. I could have adopted a kind of American twang. I could have done more of mine. I could have done more of my BK style.
I didn't want to say it like, Caribbean guys are y'all not as rough as us New York guys. We fuck that.
Well, it depends. It depends on the scenario, right? Yeah, as they still got the Jamaicans here that will shoot you in your belly, put a shank under your rib just for fun. Right? That's because it's Tuesday. That's like, just call me a bath, right? Shot you in the belly one time. Yeah. Like so there's a part of us that is like that. But the thing is, as you know, in these corporate boardrooms, right? You have to figure out what your way in is. So one of the decisions I made was to never change my accent. So that you see me first and you say, okay, there's a black man here. I got all my things about black man, whatever. Mm-hmm. And then I open my mouth and you hear the accent and they're like, wait, where the fuck you from? I don't know that. I don't know exactly how we sound. And then I had a joke that I used to make all the time. I say, well, I'm David Pilgrim and I am from Oklahoma and blah, blah, blah. And they'd be like, what? I was like, I kid, right? And there's an icebreaker, right? And they're laughing and you got your way in. Right. Okay. From that point, right? They know, okay, well, he could laugh at himself, right?
Right.
And he could laugh at your ignorance. And then you have a way in. Because I do think that no matter who you are, right? Advertising, at least what I do, is a service profession, right? Yeah. You giving me money to give you something back. So not that I have to serve you in terms of licking the scrotum, right? I don't have to lick your scrotum. But
you look scrotum.
Oh Lord. hold on, Dave. Hold on, Dave.
I know you got a cough there, man. Don't choke. Don't choke, brother.
Pause. He paused.
Dave, not on this show, Dave. Certain things will let slide on this show, but I didn't like the tone.
That was nuts. I said that was nuts. Look in the phone. No, that's hilarious, bro. But you made a valid point, and I'm glad you said it too.
Yeah.
Dave, with the likability, finding your way in, and that's what it goes back to the perception, right? It's hard not to think about the perception when you know the likability gets you in the room. Yes. So you know what I'm saying? So you're trying to make the joke here. You're trying to understand who can vouch for you, who can, who to go to lunch with is strategic at that point. All of those things are strategic, and you try not to pay focus on it, but it's all part of the overall game, man.
Yes, and I think at the end of the day, human beings, right, determine if they want to line with, like I said, line, which is what we're doing, Bobby, hang out. Like you determine who you want to hang out with in the first 5 minutes, man. I don't care who you are, whether you're a child, whether you're an adult, whoever, right? Yeah. And so you have to figure out the degree to which you want to hang out with these people, and the degree to which this is how I look at it. If I come in to do this fucking job every day, right? Yeah. And there's a lot of hours involved, like we stay late.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We crank shit out constantly. You're burning yourself out. If I'm going to do that, I want to have fun doing it. I want to enjoy who I'm hanging with. And I want to create an atmosphere where it doesn't feel like work. It is work, but I don't want to feel like it's work. And so to me, that is my agenda when I come in the room. When we come in, let's have some fucking fun here, people. That's number one. Let's have some fun doing this shit, because it's some shit that, it can become drudgery. Especially for creative people, it can become fucking drudgery. And we don't want that. We want to have some fun doing it. I want to present you something that will make you either think or laugh, hopefully. And then secondly, buy, right? But to me, it is very important to work out the way in. But I agree with you. I think that if you present yourself as a butler, right? A creative butler, you're fucking yourself up.
Yeah.
You're fucking yourself up, because you can't come back from that. If you do that shit, they will keep you as the butler. And there's a lot that's convenient in the overall perception of Black people that falls right in line with that. And you can never make that mistake.
Yeah. I'm not saying be disrespectful, David. Be clear on my message.
No, 100%.
I'm not saying go in and be like, nigga, I'm in the What I'm saying is, I'm saying stand 10 toes down. I've walked into rooms, like, I give you a perfect example. We did the Museum of Modern Art. It's called the MoMA building. Okay. I did it for a company called Turner, which is one of the biggest construction companies in the United States itself. Mm-hmm. One of their headquarters buildings is right down the block, right by Radio City Music Hall. I go up into the building. I'm a superintendent. I walk into the room with other superintendents and project managers. I'm the only Black person in the room. Mm-hmm. Not only am I the only Black person in the room, my company didn't forward me the schematics or the blueprints needed for me to understand the scheduling and what I need to do with the job. So when I walk in the room, they're like, "Oh, Chaddy's here, da-da-da-da." Now I already walk in the room. I already see how everybody looks at me, right? So I'm just letting you know, I'm not going to dumb myself down. Like, if I know 100%. Something, I'm going to tell you I know it. So the first thing they said to me was like, "Oh, well, Chaddy, why you didn't do this and why you didn't do that and why you didn't do this and why you didn't do that?" I said, first of all, I don't have any schematics. I don't have any blueprints. Can somebody forward it to me? "Oh, we forwarded to your project manager." I said, "Well, with all due respect, my project manager is not on the job, but I am. So here's my email, and if you want to forward them to me right now, we can get started." They forwarded to me. I put them up on the screen, and I go, "Now, first of all, you want me to do this, this, and that?" And they go, "Yes." I go, "But doesn't he have to do this? And doesn't he have to do this?" They go, "Yes." So doesn't he go first? Why would I do this and then he has to go, and I would have to undo my work? And you understand? All 100%. I'm saying is, if you learn something, if you took the time to go to school and learn something, if you took the time to go on a job and learn something, do not be afraid to show what you don't dumb yourself down. That's the
100%,
message.
100%. I'm
afraid to let them know that you're fucking intelligent and you know your shit. That's all I'm saying.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
What I would say as a creative director mindset, I'm in violent agreement with you. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's one of those things where, because what you just described to me is that, because you modeled it rather than said it, which is that you went in the room and you modeled your competence by asking specific questions.
Yeah.
right? And to me, that is the same. We are saying the same thing.
Absolutely.
Because the issue is, again, how do you find your way in?
Right.
Because the bottom line is that you're getting in.
Right.
Like,
Absolutely.
I come this far, I get into fucking.
Right. I'm not leaving.
Right. Exactly. However, I get in, I staying in and I sticking in. And you got to work it out. Yeah. But I'm in, and it's too late. I'm already here. By the time you read this, it's too late.
Yeah. Facts. As a fact.
You my project manager, but what we gonna do for the next 2 weeks when I'm still standing? You need work done.
Exactly. Exactly.
You might as well give me what I need and let me get busy.
What is the task at hand, and how can we accomplish it?
Yeah. Yes. So speaking of your work, brother, I'm curious. What is the best advice that you would give to other chief creative officers that are Black that want to get in the industry? And what is your favorite project? What's your favorite piece of work that you put your hat on?
Let me see. Again, I think the biggest piece of advice is not really a creative one. It is really more, how do you want to live your life in this business? Right? Ask yourself that. Like, because creative people, right, make creative shit every day. Like, we wake up and we make creative shit. That's what we do. And so telling someone about how to be more creative is not, to me, the point. Creatives are the kind of people where if you lock them in a room, because that's literally what happens, is that at an agency, you're locking creatives in a room and saying, come up with some shit at 5. Coming back at 5, I want to see some motherfucking shit that you created. Right? So you learn that muscle, right, gets built over time. When you come from college, you doing it all over the place. The difference is now when you hit the agency life is that you're given a strategy that you have to follow. And you have to find a way to marry real life situations with the brief or problem that you are supposed to solve. You're solving problems. That's what creatives do in advertising. So the muscle that you're building over time is how to solve these problems, right? And you're solving them in a way that doesn't feel like the product is shouting at you. It's one of these things where you look at the shit and you laugh, and again, it's too late. By the time you read it, it's too late. If you look at the commercial and you laugh, if you look at the commercial and you smile, if you look at the commercial and you sad, it's too late. We got you, right? So creatively, all creative directors, all young creatives who want to get in, they already have an awareness of that. So and everybody has their own way of being creative, period. Not just creatives, everybody, right? Yeah. Even if you're doing spreadsheets, if no two people don't approach a spreadsheet the same way, everybody has a creative way in, that's theirs. Yeah. So I would just say, from a creative standpoint, just keep creating, because if you create every day, the 10,000 hours, you will begin to learn that process. But surviving in the business now, the longer you're in it, is more politics than actual creativity. So again, how you
you guys same time, man.
I was waiting for you to hit it. I knew you were gonna hit it on that one.
I mean, but think about it, like, because look at the top of my fucking head. I'm gray, right? I've been in business a long time, and there's still not a lot of Black creatives in the business that you hear about, right? Because the business, by its very nature, right, it's always been run by white guys. And this is I'm not denigrating white guys, but they've created an environment that is favorable to them, right?
Absolutely.
And so women, because especially around the childbearing years, vanish in the business, right? So you will have, you start the business and there are women all around you. And all of a sudden, when the women begin to hit the top of their childbearing years, a lot of them leave, because to stay late every night and work every night to crank shit out means that your children get neglected. So women are not prepared to make that sacrifice quite often, right? Again, it's been created by white guys to be favorable to them. Again, and then with Black people too, quite often, and this is specific to Black people now, our creativity is built in the school of the side hustle. We be hustling, right? On the side. That's how we really build our shit. Like, every Black person I know, you guys included, I'm sure, you do your shit that is your day job, you're pulling in some dough, but they got some shit that you really want to fucking do, and that's where we really grow our shit. The issue comes is that there's a point in your career where you got to make a decision: the side hustle or the job. And if you choose the job, how are you gonna live your life in this job? How are you gonna feel every day that Are you going to make decisions to not work on certain brands because they hurt your community? Are you going to make decisions on certain brands because you don't like the client? Are you going to reject a piece of business that your agency has that you don't think is favorable? Are you going to resign your place on the business because you don't like the feeling on the job? Do you realize that you've created an environment that might be hostile around you at the job? That the problem is you? Or how do you react to someone around you who has created a hostile environment? And what are you going to do? Are you going to stay silent? Or are you going to respond? These are political questions, really, right? These are emotional questions. These are the things that allow you to survive in the business. And to me,
we're taking them no, you're taking them to class. Fourth period.
Because the funny part about it is everybody on this show right now has dealt with almost every single thing that you just brought up.
Yep.
Should I jeopardize my integrity for a client or a campaign that I do not believe in?
Yes.
Do I deal with this client knowing that their value system does not align with mine?
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying? Should I stay in an environment that I know is hostile? And hostile doesn't mean that you're just in an environment where people are yelling at you or screaming at you or you're always arguing. If they're not promoting you or helping to develop you, it's still hostile.
If love is not being served at the table, as they say, right? How do you act?
Yeah, and it is a big decision. I'm not gonna lie, it is a big decision. I am not angry at the people who will choose to stay and choose economics over principles. I'm not angry at you. Everybody is not a leader. Everybody won't be a martyr for the culture. Everybody will not be a fucking warrior for the culture. I'm not mad because you will have people to make both decisions. That's
I mean, people like I try and it's taken me a while to get here, but I think that you have to get to a point where you don't judge other people's journeys, right? People make their choices even the people who really hate you or make your life difficult. I've tried more and more and more to empathize with what I believe their journey is. Put on their shoes and figure it out. I think that muscle becomes far more important as you last in any industry, because it is your ability to see the macro, right? Because the nature of leadership is that you're moving from micro to macro. When you're down at the bottom, you're dealing with micro. You're the worker bee doing the actual work.
Right.
And as you surge towards management, you're getting into the macro, which is like there are certain sacrifices you're going to have to make at the micro level to allow the macro to survive.
Yep.
You might have to fire people, these kinds of things. And you have to be very mindful of the journeys that you're beginning to interrupt. But again, to me, reach out and try to understand what people's journeys are. And, this sounds really corny, but it's one of those things where, to me, develop some form of, this sounds really fucking new age, but kind of like some kind of loving aspect to how you move through the thing, move through the whole business, right? Okay. In other words, you give off a certain kind of love that says, I forgive you if you fuck up, right? I can give you some tough love, but I'm not judging you and calling you a shitty person, right? Because what happens is you keep building the team. Because to me, again, at the top level, you run in a team. And the thing that you want to run is you want a team where people want to come and join your team. You want people to stay in your team, and you want people to perform for your team. It is less about you. It is more the environment you create and the kinds of political decisions you make that allow your team to survive and thrive.
Yeah, Jarrett says, what do you say, Jarrett? Lead with love? A lot of times. Remember you said that? You say,
I do. Yeah, shit. I say so many lines. I'm like, damn. I said, damn, that's good. My bad. Damn, that's good.
Of course, I said it.
Yeah, put it on the damn call.
So just to give you context, like, within our company, we had a couple internal issues and stuff like that, and we've had some good days and we've had some bad days, business-wise, right? So Jarrett has spoke to his mentor, Solomon. Wasn't it Solomon?
Yeah.
And then when we talked, he was like, yo, we got to lead with love. You remember that?
Yeah, that was okay. That was real. Look, I didn't think he was going to come with, I got a lot of harder balls.
Man.
Yeah, so, lead with love.
The only thing I will say is this, Dave. There is a big difference I am not judging a person on a mistake. We all learn every day if you are open to learning. I learn every day. On this show, there's a lot of things that Jarrett has taught me, that guests have taught me. If I don't know something, Jarrett will be like, yo, Chad, I don't know what the fuck that is. Shit, teach me, right?
Yeah.
There is a difference between a mistake and somebody doing something intently. You understand?
100%.
A mistake is I walked and tripped over something I didn't know was there. It was a mistake. Once I know it's there, if I keep walking and keep tripping over it, it's not a mistake anymore.
Exactly.
All I'm saying is there are people that can make mistakes. A mistake can be forgiven. We can talk about it. And there are people that are destructive, that will intentionally do shit to sabotage what we're doing. That I will not tolerate. There
100%.
are people that walk in that are destructive, that don't want to be team players. That I will not tolerate.
100%.
So for those people, I'm telling you right now, I will not have you a part of this. You understand?
100%.
I will weed your ass out immediately.
Yes.
Because in order to grow, it has to be some type of cohesion. That's what
I agree with you. And I think again, it's kind of understanding what people's journey is.
Yeah.
And where they are on the journey and whether you can stay with them too.
Yeah.
So you're exactly to your point. Like sometimes you meet people and you're like, this person is extremely talented, but they cause a certain level of negative energy within the team. And you give them a few chances to address it. If they can't address it, you have to say to the powers that be, HR, call HR and say, listen, move this person out of my team, because they will destroy the whole team if I keep them. So you have a decision to make.
What about unreliability, Dave? What about if they're late all the time? What about
but here it is, Chad. Let me tell you, right? Like these things, those things don't really exist in advertising. I'll tell you why, right? Because advertising as a game is built on flights, meaning that every single ad you see was delivered by a certain time so that the medium could disperse it, right? You gotta get it to Facebook so it can land on Facebook. If the shit don't get there on time, right, we lose the business. So the notion of delivery, right?
Yeah,
there's nothing more important. The singularly most important logistical factor in advertising is delivery.
Yeah,
you got to deliver. If you can't deliver, you gone. And we'll take care of that early. If in the first year you cannot deliver, your ass is out. Your ass is out. So I'm sorry, but you're right. I should mention that. Like when you come into the business as a young person, you must learn the discipline of delivery. If you cannot deliver, you are gone. There's no way around that.
Yeah.
If you can't have it on TV at the time when it needs to be on TV, fuck you, your mother too, you're gone. That's it. Right?
Damn! You know, Dave gets his way. You know, Dave. I keep it love.
Gotta get one of those.
Your mom.
It's true.
That's all I'm saying. You know.
Yes.
In anything that we do, you know, punctuality is always an important part. Delivering on your part of the project, because it's always a team effort. Delivering on your portion of the project when you say you're going to do it, and just delivering in general, because some people just always drop the ball where somebody else has to pick up their work, or we all get fucking fired. So that's all I'm saying. You know,
100%.
That are not fucking performing. You know, Dave, let me tell you something. You cannot get to CCO anyway. You're not going to get to a C-suite individual looking like us fucking bullshitting. We need to pump that narrative. That's why also it's not many of us there, because motherfuckers don't want to do the work that it takes to get there.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying? Motherfuckers 100%. Don't want to go to school and get educated or go do an internship for fucking 4 years if need be and do the grunt work before working up through the ranks to fucking get to that type of position.
But to play devil, you're absolutely right. To play devil advocate, that's another part of the problem we have, right?
Yeah.
You work that hard, you bust your ass, you prove yourself to become a C-suite, and then you don't want to put the ladder down because you're not going to be punctual like me. You're not going to do the same things like me, right? And that's not a problem we have in the industry.
Yeah.
Man, look,
let
me tell you. I think the problem, the thing that's really, really difficult is that, I mean, you're touching on some real hot button points.
Yeah.
I think the thing that immediately occurs to me is that as Black people in life, but that means in business, we always have to work twice as hard to get half as much acknowledgement. We know this cliche, right?
Absolutely.
Like coming through the door, right?
You had to get on
you know that's coming up.
Yeah, quite often that's just how it is, and quite often, and again, in a field like advertising, you're again one of the few Black people there, so there's a pressure walking through the door on you in terms of delivery on all levels. But the other thing that creates is that you are hypersensitive to who is mediocre around your ass. Because if you are fucking busting your ass and motherfuckers mediocre around you, you can see who the fuck they are right away. Right? And those guys those people are dangerous because they get put on blast by your very existence. You don't have to do anything to put them on blast. Just your arrival and your delivery puts them on blast. And those people will do anything to protect their mediocrity.
Message. They snake your ass in a minute, bro.
What was the line you said? Hypersensitive to mediocrity?
Yes, man.
You clipping that?
Yeah, I got the lotion. I'm just hypersensitive to mediocrity. Shea butter.
What he said? You were something predisposed to losers, and so that's what you have. You have an unwavering loyalty to losers. That's one of them.
That's not like you.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy. Like you can suss out the mediocrity in a room in a heartbeat. And the problem is that you have to find a way to survive around that. Because especially being a minority, we are presumed to be the mediocre ones in the room, right? They presume that we have the disadvantages, right? And that we are there by accident. And quite often the reverse happens is because you're mediocre, because your privilege has shielded you from having to do the actual work. So your sense of yourself is undergirded by you've received support through your entire career that a person like any one of us probably didn't get. And you don't even know. You don't even count the support. You don't even know. And most white guys, to be honest, and again, I'm not saying this to trash white guys. I'm saying this more as just a kind of having lived through the case study of being in advertising this long. There are a couple of, I've worked for a lot of very privileged white guys who don't really understand the nature of their privilege, right? They're nice people. They're very smart. They're amazing creatives. They run a great creative department, but they don't understand the level of how privilege has shaped their perception of the world and how sometimes they may be mediocre they might be great at creative, but they're mediocre at how to run the department or how to treat people, right? How to grow the team. It can be any number of different things, but as a Black person, you probably are not mediocre. The likelihood that you are mediocre in any field of business in the States is so low because you won't survive. If a Black mediocre person comes in, your ass is out faster than everybody else. We're gone. If you're there, you're great, or you're probably in the top 20%. That's just how it is, right? Yeah. But the folks around us don't understand that we have that burden that we carry all the time. We cannot go below 20. We can't go below the top 20%. We won't get in.
Fact.
I see Jarrett wheel spinning over there. I see you thinking, Jarrett. I see you thinking.
No, I was really thinking, like, bro, you know the game, and I'm just gonna ask you a real ass question, bro. What made you stay in it?
Okay.
I think I stayed in it because, well, here's how the career trajectory affected it. So I stayed at the general white essentially white agencies, but called general market, right? That's the other thing. Like the business has all kinds of euphemisms to define itself that again help white men do their job optimally. So white agencies that cater to mostly white audiences refer to themselves as general market.
Yeah. Okay.
And then the ones that cater to the browner people are referred to as multicultural.
I hate
right?
it. Wait, hold on. I gotta give you one. I hate the multicultural.
Hate it.
Exactly.
We're marketing. We're the culture.
That's the thing. That's the thing about it. And to me, like that whole thing creates a certain level of division that always puts you at a certain level of disadvantage. So and the money follows those definitions.
Yeah.
So general market is where the money is. All the budgets. When you deal with a client,
the big budgets
of any if you're trying, like if you're a Black person trying to get into the business and do well on your own, you have your own firm. The real struggle is how to get those big clients, right?
Yeah.
And the problem is that work scales really big. Like they need the agency to be big to handle the request. So if you need, like for example, I worked on a year ago in the Super Bowl, right? There was a campaign where the M&M candies got fired. and they got Maya Rudolph to be the spokesman for M&M's, right? It was all fake, right? I worked on that. I worked at a general market agency. I worked at Vayner Media on that. And the reason why we would have gotten a thing like that to work on is because when the client comes in with the request to do the Super Bowl, your firm has to be able to do the creative, get it out on time, make sure it hits on the Super Bowl at the time when it's supposed to hit, and you got to measure the metrics and get a sense of what is going on. Smaller businesses don't often have the scale. The team is like 10 people, might be at a small agency, for example, whereas at a large agency is a team of 200, 300, right? So the problem is that the money follows the size and the scale as much as it does the color, the skin too. It's a combination of two things that you're fighting against. If you want your business to scale, you probably need to you have to have partnerships with bigger agencies so that you get the call if they need a very specific skill set and you become part of the Borg. You got to incorporate with the Borg a little bit to scale. If you don't do that, you're going to be working at a smaller level with smaller businesses, which are no less worthy of your time and attention, but it's a different game of scale. And that is the difference. And that's the thing that is really kind of the thing the tension that I think we always navigate as smaller Black businesses versus wanting to grow large.
I just got one question to that real quick. Because I know it's called skin in the game sometimes. So, because I do construction and other things, I know it might work a little different, but a lot of times, like if a client comes in and asks us to do something, right, they'll only give us a certain amount of money up front. We have to have the capital to kind of get it done in front.
Yes.
So with a Super Bowl campaign like that, would it be safe to say that you would have to be a large business because you would actually have to purchase the block time yourself and be able to front that money? Super Bowl ads are in the fucking millions, right?
Yes.
So front that money first, right? Get it placed, like you said, get it to run, and then say, okay, we got everything, and then bill them out and wait for a net 30 or a net 60 to get paid.
Well, you would have, I mean, again, this is the difference in how those businesses at that scale work is that they plan the calendar year a year in advance, 2 years in advance.
Okay, got you.
So the monies and the budgets are allocated more by media, right? So you know that the media costs a certain amount of money, right? And so that's not changing. Those costs aren't changing. So if you're a company that is going to buy in the Super Bowl, you have to allot for that money ahead of time. Now, you may not have all of it, because they're shifting costs in terms of how much the creative costs to make. It might have a lot of CGI and you might spend more money on CGI, whatever. But the bottom line is that you have the basic lump, and then the agency, probably if it's large, has a prerequisite lump as well to cover themselves if they need to front things up front. But quite often, from the time you're leaving the agency to go and work on a shoot or go and do an edit, that stuff has to be fronted because those vendors are not going to work until they know that they're being paid. So that money, so again, and the way that the bigger clients tend to work is that there are tentpole times during the year when they know that the big money has to be spent.
Okay.
Basically, Black Friday, the money got to get spent.
Yeah, Q4.
Right. Back to school, the money got to get spent. You name it. Valentine's Day, the money got to get spent. There are certain kinds of tentpole events during the cultural year where they know big money has to get spent, and the budgets tend to be built around those tentpole moments.
Okay, that makes sense.
So that then sometimes that's the other thing that we as small businesses sometimes don't understand. So that then you come in making a request for dollars at a time which is not when those tentpole events take place. The money's not really flowing to the same degree. So it's harder for you to get the money to get paid to do what you want to do because they've dispersed the money a year ago based on what they thought the big tentpole events would be. The exceptions to that rule tend to be that something pops off in culture that is so relevant.
Right.
Cat Williams does a viral video.
Absolutely, Cat Williams.
And everybody talking about Cat Williams and be like, we're going to jump on the fucking Cat Williams train right now because if we do it 2 days from now, no one will give a fuck and you're going to be Johnny come lately.
Right.
So there are times when the money can move quickly like that because of tentpole moments in culture, which do not follow the calendar tentpole events.
Gotcha.
But those are the exception and not the rule.
That was real, bro. So and also sometimes like what agencies do is like, say for instance, use a brand. Let's use Nike, right? Nike has a $50 million campaign. They want to go to Vayner, right? Vayner's going to do the branding, the media, social media, SEO. What they might do is take a portion of that. We're going to do the branding portion. Then they'll work with a smaller agency like ourselves. They'll outsource different facets of it depending on what their skill set is. So really, there's like 10 agencies working on this one campaign, and that's why the money and the cash flow is so important. Like what Dave was saying.
I thought it was like that because that's what construction is. You'll have a GC, and then we'll sub everything out. We'll have our plumbers do this, a different electrician company, a different concrete company. That's what I thought.
Exactly how it is.
That's what I said. When he said bigger agency, I'm like, yeah, because they probably need the capital to be able to pay out to get this fucking thing done.
You still need those live dollars in case you got to move stuff in the short term, right? Yeah. So and then it goes back. So I'll describe a process. For you asked me earlier, and I didn't answer the question. What was one of my favorite pieces of work? So I worked on Gillette a couple of years ago, and I did a campaign. I worked on a campaign. They were trying to launch this product. The product was a failed product in the long term, but the experience of working on it was interesting. So it was something called the Gillette Styler. So it was an attempt to have a kind of a trimmer that could trim your beard and trim because remember Gillette is a shaver, a razor, right? Whereas this thing was like a little kind of a trimmer that you would get in, like it's a smaller version of what you would see in the barbershop that the guys would use, right?
Yeah, because Gillette is known for their disposable stuff mainly.
Yeah, and known for the removal of hair, not the shaping of hair. Right. Like when you shave, you getting rid of the hair, right? When you think of Gillette, you getting the thing and you shaving yourself clean quite often, right? Yeah. But they had this thing that they were calling the Gillette Styler, which was how you kind of trimmed and shaved your beard. And to their credit, they realized, wait a minute, men of color do far more shaping, right? Because quite often in a lot of corporate environments, they want you to be clean shaven.
Absolutely.
So you would normally be just using a razor and you kind of do your thing. You in and out, you go. But to do a trimmer, you got to find the target. You got to target the people who care about that. Yeah. Because in general, as they say, if you see a black man that doesn't have facial hair, you can't trust him. Right? I don't know if you've ever heard that. You know if you ever heard that? But I'm glad but think about it. Think about it. Think about it.
I've never heard that.
Think about it. How many men you know that have entirely clean shaven faces? How many you know?
That was me till like a year and a half ago.
What field were you in?
My main field is construction.
Right.
Yeah.
A lot of the men in construction are clean shaven.
Yeah. It's a mixture of both because construction really doesn't care. It doesn't care about education. It doesn't care about
but I could tell you, right? Yeah. Like basically if you worked at a place like IBM for years, up until about maybe the early 2000s, there was an unspoken rule that you had to be clean shaven if you worked there.
Shit was like Catholic school, bro. No braids, no this, no that.
Exactly. Yeah. All those things about hair and stuff that we know come from that whole belief that you have to be clean shaven, right? Right. That's the whole razor business is built on that. It's the armed forces too. Like the armed forces is where that starts. In the armed forces, everybody is clean shaven, right?
Yeah. In the Army, I don't know if I'm Marine.
No, well, I'm a Marine, so just so you know, so I have experience.
Army.
Yeah, I'm a Marine. Right. And when you go to boot camp, yes, they shave everything off. But once you pass boot camp and you get into the fleet, you can have like a little mustache or something.
But it has to be maintained.
It has to be maintained. So as far as a beard, they don't allow beards unless you get breakouts, and you have to go to medical and get what's called a no shaving chit to show that if you shave, you'll break out.
Exactly. So it's the exception still prove the rule, right? Yeah. So the bottom line is that Gillette is, in fact, the reason why Gillette got as big as it was, at least one of the reasons, is that they used to give the blades away free to the armed forces,
to the military.
So that then and then when the guys left the armed forces, they kept using it, and they built their audience that way. So all that to say, now we're doing this Gillette style of thing, and someone realized that men of color spend a lot more time on the shaping of hair than other groups, and so I was working at a multicultural agency at the time. Is no longer around. But we got to exactly the process you just described. There was a main agency that was in charge of the campaign, and then they hired us to be part of the multicultural legs that they had to have in order to target the different groups. We ended up doing a commercial that had 3 principles in it. it had that guy. His name is a Spanish actor called Gael Garcia Bernal. He's a Mexican dude. Adrian Brody, tall white guy with a kind of big nose actor. He's won a few Oscars.
Yeah.
And Andre 3000.
Andre 3000.
3 stacks.
3 stacks.
With the
right.
Aloysius.
That's right. That's right. That's right. So I got to work on that. And the really interesting thing about that was, again, like you got to see that whole thing that we just described, which is that you have the main agency. We are partnered out as vendors, right? We had to do a commercial that featured all 3 of the guys, but we also then had to do cut downs of those commercials that then only featured one of the principals. So I did all the ones with Andre 3000 that were targeted to Black people. And then we had to do like a whole digital thing that kind of came out of that. Like all the ads that came out of that, we had to run print that was relevant to it, but didn't have the other 2 guys in it. We shot that in Prague, right? With, I can't remember the director's name, huge director. We shot it over the course of 3 or 4 days. And the reason why we had to shoot it in Prague is because in Prague, there's not a big paparazzi.
Okay.
So you can work without disturbance from paparazzi.
Makes sense.
In Prague, right? But then also I got to meet 3 Stacks pretty much at his height. And I have to say, man, he was just such an impressive person. Like he was, contrary to what you might think of a hip hop artist, he was one of the most thoughtful people.
Because he's pure talent. He's pure talent.
And but the thing is, he has a coin. The thing about it is that he's like anybody else. He doesn't believe he's that talented. He's just Andre. Like, he was so real and honest a person. It was a pleasure to work with him. Yeah. And I just felt like, and he was at the point too where he was beginning to learn that he was a stylish person. So the notion of the thing was called a styler, but it also leaned into the fact that he was a stylish person. He was really the most stylish of those 3 guys.
Hold on. Yeah. Is this pre-Erykah Badu or post?
Post.
Badu?
So you know he was styling.
I was gonna say. This was with the incense or without the incense?
Man, because you know, when Badula, when you invoke the Badula.
You know that's relevant. It's relevant to talk about what style we talk about.
Yeah,
I'm telling you.
Or post Erykah
post Badu. So he was. I mean, he would have been. I think he would have been just. This would have been just after the Love Below. Yeah. So he would have been again at the height of his powers at that point, and it was just. That was one of the perks. Every now and again in advertising, you get to work with celebrities. Yeah. And that was just a fun experience to work with him. And also just because quite often what you had to do then when we wrote copy for radio commercials or anything like that, you had to imagine yourself in his voice. And in fact, Haji was one of the writers on that as well, just to pull Haji Williams back in. Haji Williams, who I met years ago, we kind of dragged him back in because we knew that he loved hip hop and that one of Haji's abilities is to understand the syntax and the speech patterns of how people are and try to write a script in the voice of that person. And then, so that meant that Andre could approve those scripts without having to write them himself.
Nice.
Fine.
So, but the whole process was really just a fun process. Yeah. And it just felt like you got to work on something again that was in culture that you knew. And it goes back to something we were talking about earlier. Like one of the reasons why I went over to Multicultural is because there was this additional sense of mission. Right, working at the general market agency, and I'm not denigrating that experience, but you do work that is targeted to everyone, and you do it at a high level, etc. But when you work at the multicultural agency, if you get an opportunity like that Gillette experience, you get to tailor it to your audience in a way that you know quite well. Like really ones listening to the hip hop, we know what we want it to sound like. We can smell when it's inauthentic. Yeah. So you become the guardian of what is authentic. Because quite often the advertising stuff gets kind of cheesy, you know, and whack. And in multicultural, your job was to not be whack, to make sure that the product that hit the shelves was not whack.
That's it.
And that additional level of mission made you more committed to the work. So that answers your question. Why did I stay so long? Like,
that's real.
Working in multicultural, as much as there are diminished budgets and sometimes diminished expectations, which is part of the broader thing we've talked about, there is just this additional sense of mission that, like, when you're working on stuff that you know brown people are going to consume, you are the guardian. You are the reason why it's not shitty. And that's important.
Man, that's super important. You know what? As you're saying that, bro, that's something that we struggled with or something I definitely thought about when we created the agency. Obviously, we're a general agency. We do SEO, social media, content marketing, B2B, a lot of B2B brands. But the labeling of the multicultural, it's like you're shooting yourself in the fucking foot. But at the same time, I want the opportunity to work on brands and speak directly to my audience, which is us. But this is why we have the platform that we can speak directly to those people. So it's like, but if we were to work with M&M's and they're like, yo, what's popping off in culture, Chad, what you think we do with that shit? You know what I'm saying?
I just gotta say this. It's one of those double-edged swords, because I know we're coming up on time. It's one of those double-edged swords, right? You don't want to be labeled multicultural, but even though we're general, we understand that the culture that's not our culture is gonna come to us to get in contact with our culture and our thoughts and feels for the culture.
Yeah, it's just how it goes.
You understand? Because like he said, we're the guardians of our culture. They know nobody know our culture better than us. So no, we're not labeled multicultural, but a non-ethnic company that doesn't know our culture because you don't live it. Listen, hanging out, I'm gonna be clear. I don't give a fuck. Take it how y'all want to take it. We unapologetic on the show. Hanging out with us, saying that you have black friends, that is not the same thing as growing up, living, breathing, and fucking being immersed in our culture every single fucking day. It's no comparison. You can think you know our culture, you can emulate our culture, but you truly don't understand our culture until you actually live and you're immersed in our culture and you go through the shit that our culture goes through on a daily basis. And I'm gonna leave it at that.
100%, man. 100%. I mean, like, we're the ones who the cab will. I mean, it doesn't happen as often now because we have Uber. But
right,
if you're the black man standing up there and the cab drives by you and picks up the person,
exactly.
If you haven't been through that, I can describe that to you, but you don't know what the feeling is to have it happen to you repeatedly.
Right.
You know, to live in your neighborhood and watch it not prosper, and then all of a sudden you see the neighborhood change, and everything seems to benefit everybody else, and you're being asked to move. You have to live that to know it.
Yeah. Haji, I'm sorry, David. You know, it's. I know we coming up on time. It's. You know, this is part one. This is.
We didn't even get to the DEI stuff.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
We wanted to go crazy.
It's a lot more we got to get to. I know we coming up on time. I just want to thank you for coming on the show.
My pleasure.
What I do want to do, I want you to, if you could, put your number in the private chat.
Yeah.
Sure. I'm going to create a group chat between me, you, and Jarrett. We do that for all our guests so that we can always stay in communication, so we can foster this relationship. We want to extend to you the invitation that we extend to all our guests. If you're ever in New York City,
you live in New York, aren't you? In
Brooklyn? BK. I mean BK.
Done
deal.
Flatbush and Newkirk. Flatbush and Newkirk, son. Flatbush and Newkirk.
I don't even got to give you the speech then. Listen.
Dollar van. We take a dollar van. We fucking take.
So listen, we definitely. I know I'm going out of town tomorrow. And I'll come back Tuesday, and then me and Jarrett fly out of town for a Podfest conference. But sometime in February, maybe the first week in February, David, we definitely gonna pull up on you, and we're gonna have an in-person, man, and definitely break bread and chop it up because
Black History Month. Black History Month.
Let's do it.
That would be dope too. You see, that would be dope, man. Yeah. So and let the people know where they can find you, David, because I know it's a lot of people that's gonna want to definitely reach out to you.
Just hit me on LinkedIn. Look for David Pilgrim on LinkedIn. It's probably the easiest.
David Pilgrim on LinkedIn, man. That's what it is, brother. But I do want to just echo, Chad sentiments, man. Thank you, brother. Like I said, man. First, I also shout out to Haji once again, man. Thank you for introducing us, brother. Introducing us as amazing, brother. And man, thank you for fighting a good fight, man. I just want to say that.
Thank you.
You know what I mean?
Thank you for the acknowledgement, and thanks for the opportunity to be here, man. It's been a pleasure.
Oh, absolutely, bro. Like we don't champion each other enough for fighting the good fight. You know what I'm saying? Being there is because of the stories and the struggles that you guys went through, Haji, yourself, the Walt back in the day, and the shit that I had to go through and persevere through allows us for not be one person in the room now. Now there's 5. There's still a lot of work that needs to be done, absolutely, to make it 50, absolutely. But you guys persevered through that shit. And so don't think that's not taken, we don't take that shit lightly, man. I've been in the industry. I had to get the fuck out. So
realness, man.
That's why do you think Jarrett could very easily just come on and say, ladies and gentlemen, episode 89, David Pilgrim. Why do you think Jarrett takes time? This is not like a cookie cutter thing. He takes time to research the person. He takes time to look at your accomplishments. He takes time to make sure that he gives each and every one of our guests the flowers that they deserve. Yes, we might miss a couple things, but sometimes our intros are long because we're trying to show you, like I said to you about, not accepting the fact that you had that high GPA. But fuck that. We're going to give you your flowers because, like Jarrett said, we are programmed in our culture not to celebrate each other. This is what we're trying to break the programming of.
Heard that.
Gotta celebrate, Dave, because how can we expect you to champion us if we're not going to champion you?
Heard that. All the way.
And if you're going to champion anything too, guys, you got to drink. If you're still watching with your more than a title cup, make sure you drink it with your more than a title cup. The only thing that keeps your Hennessy cold for 2 hours, I promise. 2 hours
I'm on the road right now, so I ain't got my cup.
With this. We're going to hit you with a QR code. We're going to give y'all 5 seconds. So the person that buys does not get a discount, but we love you. We love y'all, man. Dave, much love, brother. We're gonna see you guys next week. Another episode of More Than the Title, baby.
Excellent. Take care, fellas.
My brother.
Seeing it all, heard it all. Oh, what you know about me?